Welcome to Lucy's Big Beautiful World of Painting. Today I'm going to be painting for you this very colorful rooster, a nice abstract painting. I did it very quick at home. This is just an example. Of course, my painting that I'm doing today won't be exactly like this because it's abstract. Very hard to copy in abstract. So I used a lot of colors, Deco Art Premium paints. After I was done with it, I put on one coat of crackle, and it's called One Step Crackle. And we'll see if we can zoom in a little bit and take a peek, and I'll hold it a little bit sideways. And when the crackle goes on, it is like a clear gloss. It dries and it gives this lovely crackle to it. Makes it look like a little vintage, almost like a leather look. So this is again, Deco Art One Step Crackle. So I'll put that down. So this is already dried and it's got the crackle on it. Now I'm going to be using a lot of different colors today, and we'll list them all. What I do is when I do a practice, I just get a board. I don't use my premium Frederick's canvases like I use all the time. And I write on the back everything that I use. This way, if I want to repeat it, I won't forget. So saying that, I'm going to put that back on my little holder there. Now, what I did was I went and I printed out a cartoon page, okay? And just a little rooster. You can just type free, you know, coloring book pages. Sorry, not cartoon, but it is kind of cartoony. Coloring book pages, and you'll print it out. I drew it larger, and then I transferred it on using graphite paper. Okay, so very easy to do. And this is for those of us that can't draw too well. Okay, you could do this with everything, and I do that on a lot of my shows. Now, you can start with a black canvas, and then you can trace it on with white transfer paper. Okay, this is very, very good transfer paper, and it comes in white. Deco Art also has the black, okay, Americana accessories. So let me put that over there. I just want to show you a few things while I had a second before I start. I am using a Red Label Frederick's canvas today, like I said, a very, very sturdy, high-grade canvas. So here we go. I'm just going to get started. Now, I have a lot of colors on my palette today, but I am only going to use about 4 brushes. What I think I'll do first is I'm using some black, and this is a round, thin brush, all right? And I just wanted to show my palette, but I'm going to put it down most of the time because I have to steady my hand a little bit for this painting. So what I'd like to do first is just to establish where this guy's eye is. So I'm using just a tip of the brush and just making a circle. Now, of course, I can go over this, you know, which I probably will, because this painting, we keep layering the colors on, okay? Just like to establish where his eye is, and just rolling the brush. Let me show you what I'm doing. Anytime you need a point, all you have to do is go to the end of your little puddle and just roll it, all right? You can see a nice pointed brush there, and just gonna do the little part in the middle. Okay, and that's all I'm doing to start the painting with the black, okay? The other thing you can do if you wanted, you could always go down and fill in his feet and all, but I'll wait for that. Now with this brush, even though I just have a little bit of paint on it, I am going to stick it over here and leave it in my water bucket. We don't want the paint to dry in there, all right? I'm gonna start with my background first. And I used a lot of different blue, okay? So I have 4 different blues here, and you can see I mixed some white, all right? So let me hold this up again. What I did was I tried to make it a little lighter around his head to kind of have the focus go into his head first. Now, I did a lot of dull colors in here, but I put some gold on my palette today, because we could always dress him up with a little bit of gold. I love the gold, and I keep adding it to things, and I just love the way that looks, okay? So just to get started, I am using a number 1. This is a big, flat Deco Art Traditions brush, okay? And I just wet it and just kind of pulling out that chisel edge just to show you how to keep your brushes in good condition. That's what you want to do to them. So I'm just going to start going in various blue and some white, okay? So you can see I just put some blue and white, and just going to start to crisscross some paint here and there. Now, I'm not going to worry if I go onto the rooster there, okay, because I'm going to do that in more details with a smaller brush later on. I just want to move this table a little bit. I was hitting my foot on there. All right, here we go. Back to my blue, And this is my lighter blue. I think this is the cobalt blue. And I'm just going to go in between and around, just using this. Like I said, I'm going to go closer later. Just want to start to get some of these background colors on, just to show you that when you're painting abstract, you can just wing it, all right? And everybody knows I wing it. Here we go. So there's some blue, and I like the idea of seeing the brush strokes in this. So what's happening is, if I see I start to blend too much, I consciously say to myself, move over, all right? Get those brush strokes in there because they do look really nice. All right, not that I don't want it smooth, I do, see, because I have to go around, but I do want to see those brush strokes. So I'll go back and forth. And so far, I'm not using any of the extender medium. If you see your paint is drying too fast, you can go ahead and just dip a little in the extender medium and you'll have no problem. Your paint will move around. So up here, I have a little bit of dark. I'm, like I said, just using it as a little reference. So I'm just going to go into my dark blue and I'll just start to put some dark blue. Now you can see I'm doing some X strokes and blending it in a little tiny bit. Again, I have to stop myself from over blending, okay? So this is like my mid-tone blue in there. I'm going to even go to a darker blue, get some darker blue up here. You can see it's a shade darker, and that is a little bit drier, all right? So let's see. Either I can add a little more paint, because in an abstract, I'm not real worried about that, or I could dip in my extender medium. All right, back again in both blues this time, okay? So just want to start getting some of this blue on, try to get underneath my easel. And you can see. Now you can see I have some of the white of the canvas showing, so that needs a little bit more paint on there. So I'll go back again, and there we go. Now, I like the idea for color harmony of putting some of the colors I'll be using at the bottom up on top. So I'll just go and dip a little bit in the orange. Just want to come up here and get a little bit of this orange in here. All right, now this painting is one of those paintings where we say it has an ugly phase. It doesn't look good for a while, but then after you start layering the colors, it really starts to look nice. Now you can see that was really dry here, so I just put a little bit of medium on there. And there we go. So I have a little orange. I have to make that orange thicker because it's coming out a little bit of green because it's mixing with that blue, okay? So like I said, I will go back again and add more layers of paint and all that will change. I'm not washing my brush, going back in some blue again. I want to get a little bit closer here and I want to get a little bit of blue and a little bit of white. So like I said, this is the ugly phase right now. Just going to start filling in, and you can see him going back around, okay? Not worried about his tail. I just wanted to get it in there to show you that that's where that tail would go, all right? Down here, as we get closer down to the bottom, I started to put more green, give an illusion like a grassy area. So first, a little bit more blue. Oops, and look what I did. I accidentally hit the corner in the black, and that's okay. With an abstract, you can pretty much do anything. All right, so let me get some more blue in there. All right, so now as I start getting closer down, now we'll start putting a little bit more orange. I like the way the dark orange looks. I have some quinacridone violet. I always have to watch how I say that because that's some word to say. And we will just go around here. Okay, so you can see I'm just kind of starting to get the colors on. I mix those two a little bit, and now you can see it's turning a little brown. That's okay. Once it dries, we can go back on there again and put more vivid color. You can make this as vivid as you want. You can see it starts out nice and vivid, and then as I start to blend, the colors start to get a little muddy, okay? So that's why with something like this, you don't want to blend too much. I like the way that pink looks, okay? Like I said, it's not going to look anything like my first one because I didn't write myself directions or placement on where I'm putting the colors. So I'm just winging it, all right? I like that orange, I like that pink. So let's see, let's go into the green. So I'm just not even cleaning my brush, going in some sap green. Now down here, I want to give the illusion of just some grasses. So rather than do a crisscross, an X stroke, I'm just going to come in here and I'm just going to pull up instead. You can do it flat and pull it up. You could do it on the side just to try to give the illusion that, oh, maybe this rooster is running through some grasses. Now, I can still see his foot a little bit under here, even if you can, and that's okay because the foot is not hard to kind of get on there afterwards, all right? So here we go, some more green, and I do have some other nice colors in there I'm going to put also. All right, I'm going to pull all this up, and like I said, this is the first coat. My painting has a couple coats of paint on it. I kept adding and adding and adding. All right, I don't want to go too much over. I want to try to see a little bit of his foot so I can paint that in. And getting right in there up until his little back portion here. All right, up until his feathers. Now, I just want to add a little bit of some blue just to bring down some color harmony, and I really like the way that looked when I kind of shot some blue in there. Now, again, this is the first layer, and we're going to keep adding layers and layers. Now, I'm not sure how many layers we will get to add, but we'll see as time permits, okay? So just to give you an idea how we're going with this one. So what I'll do is I'm going to put my big brush in my water basin, make sure that stays nice and damp, and I'm going to come over to a filbert, okay? This is a number 8 filbert. It's called a filbert. Because it has this round top, and it is a flat brush with a round top. I'm going to go into my little violet color, and let's see. I want to darken it up a little. So you know what? I think I'm going to put a little bit of my dark blue in that violet and see what I get, all right? And I just want to come in. Now you can see that I am going a little bit more detailed, all right? And I have an idea of where his little top of his head is. So I can just paint that in like this, all right? And that looks a little bit too blue, and that's fine because I need a bottom layer on. I just picked up some of that quinacridone again. So I need a bottom layer, so that's fine, all right? So don't say, oh no, it won't work. It doesn't matter. In this kind of painting, use whatever colors you like best, all right? And as that dries again, I can build up the color. All right, so now that's a little thin, and I will leave it for now and go on to his next feature. So we have his little beak. So I'm just kind of working my way down, okay? So we have the little beak there, and I'm just going to wipe off my brush. I just kind of dunked it in my water and swished it around a little. Now I'm going into a raw sienna, all right? And I'll just put his beak on, and like I said, I'm going to come back again because I can see my graphite lines under there. That's okay. We're going to layer a couple layers on, and you'll see this little guy starting to come to life a little bit. Maybe I'll just get a little bit of color in his eye so you can see better, all right? Now, his little jowl, I think that might be what it's called, is his jowl. I'm just going to go, and I'm just going to pick up that violet color again, and I'm using the flat of the brush, and it's a round area, so I'm using it to help me. See, I'm just pushing it down like this. All right, and I pulled it up just because it fit in the area. Now, I don't like that color too much for that little area, so I'm just adding a little darks, whatever's on my palette, but not quite enough. I'm going to add a little tiny bit of black and see what I get. All right, I wanted it like a darker red, but I don't want it too dark because his eye, around the eye has to show, and like I said, I just want to get one little layer on first. Then we're going to go back and add some beautiful colors. And I want to show you how to do the strokes of his feathers. All right, so now we just have a little bit of coverage here. And I'll just rinse off my brush a little bit. Now, what I want to do with the rest of him now is what you all may say will be the fun part. I'm going to start adding feathers, all right? I see this is a little wet. This is starting to dry. And like I said, first layering, we have plenty of layers that we could put on. So I used yellow, and I used orange, and I used blue in his back feather. So first I'll start with a nice dark rich blue, okay? And those are between the phthalo blue and the Prussian blues. And I'm using an angle brush, okay? This is the number, let me see which one this is, a half. This is a half, again, Deco Art Traditions angle brush, all right? Wonderful brush. And I'm going to use this chisel edge to my advantage. And just starting here, I can just pull his feathers out. I'm not worried about going through this wet paint and what color it's going to be because we're going to keep adding layers. I just want to get some dark on. But as you can see, I'm pulling, let me just explain closer. I'm using this tip of the brush and I'm just laying it down, and I am using it to help me make these lines, okay? So I'm not pushing it down. if you push it down, you're going to get like a fatter line. And yes, I did that also. But if you just want to start out and get thinner lines in there, you can just use this tip as you pull away. Okay, so let me just go a little slower just so you can see how I'm doing it. So you can see it starts to come to life once you start to get some of these pretty strokes in. Now I have a lot of white to cover here, okay? Oops, I slipped there for a second. So I'm going to put some of this dark blue knowing that I'm going to go over with some lighter colors. And I'm picking up a lot of paint here because I really want to cover this, okay? I just have to stand back a little and make sure his tail feathers are kind of going the right way. So you can see I have a lot of that canvas under there. That's okay, because watch what I'm going to do next. I'm going to go into the cobalt blue, and I'm going to come and I'm going to pull some of this cobalt blue in between. All right, so you can see I'm going to go fast because I want to make sure that I have enough time to show you his little face there, okay, or her. Here we go. So there's some blue. All right. Now this is the fun part. When you have your favorite colors, you can start putting in your favorite colors. I like the idea of putting in the oranges and all. So let's see what we get. I may get a little green because now I have that blue on there. So I loaded my brush up and see I got a little orange in there. So I'm just going to swoosh my brush around a little bit and then dry it off. All right. Just to get some of that blue out of there. Now here we go. I'm going to put in a little bit of orange. Now you can see the difference, okay? So I can go over that again, get a little orange. You can see now it's too dark down there. Need more paint. So this is how you would layer his tail, all right? And you'll cover all that canvas up. I'm going to go put it in a little yellow just so I can show you. But this is something that you'll lay on colors over and over and over, and you'll change them dark, light, dark, light, dark, light. And that's how you get that kind of a look, okay? So today I wanted to teach you this lesson. This painting may not come out so neat, okay? I just want to get this lesson out to you. Of course, at home, you're going to take your time and do this. You don't have to do this so fast. So his body, same thing, all right? I'm going to come in and I see that I painted this. I drew that on. So I'm just kind of following my little design there, and I'm just starting to fill in a little, all right? So you can see the roundness now, all right? There we go. I got the roundness of that paint in there. I'm just coming up a little higher. All right. There we go. Filling that in a little bit. Same thing. I can do each section at a time. So what I'll do is I'll just wipe off my brush a little bit. And let's see. Go in a little bit of orange again. All right. And like I said, that orange is turning it a little bit green. But just to show you how you'll separate your strokes. Okay. There we go. So now we kind of filled that in a little bit. So I'm just wiping off my brush when I come down, all right? So I just want to fill it in. I'll go back to that section. I want to do the same thing here, all right? So I can come along here, and now, see, I'm making it neater. I'm going right up to the edge of where I painted. There we go. And just filling it, all right? So more paint, another blue. So just to try to separate his feathers a little. All right, I'm going to come right up to here because I want to show you how I put in the top of him, okay? So again, I'm going to start separating depending on time. We'll see how much I can separate, but I want to put in the top of the rooster. Now the top of the rooster is kind of the focal point next to this light draws in, and this is the lightest part. I like making that the lightest. So I'll start with just some orange, all right? And I'm doing it the same way, but following the way his kind of head goes, okay? So I'm going to try not to go into that blue yet, because I will pick up and make it some green. So there we go. There, now I'm picking up some, okay? And I'm going over. I'm not worried about going on top of that blue now, okay? So you can see how I'm filling in. I'm going to get my brush, wipe it off a little here. I put it in the water, and I'm just tapping it out. And I'm going to come into some yellow now, all right? So here I go. I'm going to put some yellow in, okay? So you can see I'm pulling down the strokes. If you get too much of the other color in, then just wipe off your brush a little bit. The other thing is at home is you will have time for this to dry, all right? So you won't have to hurry along like I'm hurrying up. But you can see how it's starting to come together. Yes, I know it's a little bit sloppy. It's the lesson that counts, okay? I want to teach you how you can approach doing a little rooster. His little legs down here, I'm just going to go back to my filbert brush and some straight black paint, and I can see my lines on there. So what I would do is just come in and fill it in with black, and then you can go over with another color if you like. I can see how I have my painting underneath there. So there's his little foot, all right? And this was wider over here. So you can see I'm just rubbing it in, and I'm closer, standing closer to my painting. This time now, because I'm painting on like I'm holding a pencil. So this will make me, you know, get a little bit neater. So you kind of have an idea. Sometimes you play around with your brushes and you're more abstract, so you can just kind of not fuss with it. And then when you want more detail like this, like a little foot, then you would be a little neater. Okay, so there's his little feet. So you can see now he looks like he's kind of running in the grass. Now, of course, I would fill this in more. I'm not going to go back to the grass yet because I would like to show you more about building the colors up on his face and all, because that's really where the focal point is going to be. So I'm going to come back in with some orange, all right? And I love this orange. So here we go. I'm holding the brush and I'm pulling it down. All right, need a little more paint. Holding it, there we go. I got a lot of paint that time. Either I have a little bit too much or not enough. So I'm just going to leave it like that. And what you'll do is you go back and forth between your painting, and you can let a section dry and then go back. Notice I'm going over his body, all right? So I want to make a nice, let's see what color. I'm going to take some of this violet and a little orange and mix it together. I just want to see what I get. Maybe throw a little yellow in there. So experiment with your paint colors, okay? I'm getting a darker red, and I like that kind of darker red color. So that color I think I'll use for his jowl. I'm going back to my filbert, okay? So I'm just going to switch my brushes around. I want to fill that in a little bit more for you to see. All right, now notice what happens when you put the second layer of paint on. I'll try to move my hand. All right. See, now it really starts to show out. All right, and that dried, so that's good. That's what we like, because now we can come back in and we can layer some paint, some other color paint on there. Just want to neaten this up. See, I can take my time, neaten that up a little bit. I think hopefully you're getting the idea of it. It's starting to dry over here, so I can start to put some other colors in here. Then I can go back to his face again. What I would like to do is, again, I just got to rinse my brush out a little bit because I had too much color on there, build up his little color of his beak, which is I'm using a raw sienna. All right, so I could just come back in here again to his beak and notice what happens. I am putting in the raw sienna, and now his beak is starting to stand out a little bit more. All right, so hopefully that will give you the idea of how I'm doing this. So I just need to rinse my brushes out, and I'm going to layer more coloring in his tail and his body, and as this starts to dry, a little bit more, and hopefully we'll have a pretty good idea of where we're going with this one. Okay, so in his tail, I see still some wet. That's all right. What I would love to do is go and get some of that gold, which I didn't do in my original painting, but I love the gold. Let's really kind of bling him out a little bit. All right, let's see how that goes. There we go. Look at that gold. It's just a nice shimmery gold. And oops, I just accidentally stuck my brush in the raw sienna. Just wiping it off. Don't have to wash it because I'm going right into that gold. Let's get some gold in there. Really dress this guy up. Maybe he's going to a rooster party. He wants to wear some nice gold. Look at that gold, okay? So just to show you what you can do to really, dress it up a bit. All right. Go back to a little bit of yellow, and I want to get some yellow back in his top. Now look at that, how nice that is once I put that yellow in there. All right, got some nice yellow. I'm going right over the blue. So now you can see the focal point is starting to show better now. All right, and I'm even going to go and get a little white, not washing that yellow out because I really want to show that this is the focal point. I want to pull the viewer's eye into this. Now take a look, now that I just put a little bit of white in there. So you can see the focal point is really starting to come together now. And I could put a little bit of a brighter color in here. And of course, now in here we would be doing layers on layers on layers of the same stroke, going back and forth between your colors, okay? Down here, I would come in and neaten this up, go over the grasses again, okay? The grasses, of course, I would build up all the colors. So hopefully this will help you get started and to show you how you can do a simple rooster, all right? And other animals can be done the same way. So I'm going to go back to my filbert brush now that I have just a couple more minutes and want to just get a little bit of a detailing. So I just put some yellow on my filbert and I'm just pulling some down very gently on top here. Okay, just so that comes out a couple different colors, all right? I like the idea of maybe putting a little yellow in his eye. So maybe we can come here, I'm anchoring my finger and just dotting a little bit of that yellow in there. Okay, all righty there. I can come back with my black now. Remember I said I would come back to the black, go around his eye again. All right, you can even outline a little bit of his beak. And up top here, okay, you can have a little part coming down here. Okay, so you can kind of do a little bit of a drawing in there. All righty, so you can see it's starting to come together. I'm going to wipe off my brush again, come back with a little bit of this violet color, and I like to make this a little bit more violet, I think. There we go. Okay, so look at how that kind of brightened it up. Coming down again, want to get a little violet in here. So like I said, you're going to layer and layer the colors. Maybe we'll put a little violet in here. All right, and I still think that tail can be brighter. Just a little bit brighter, because I really like how his face here is coming along, and hopefully this at least is enough of a lesson for you to get an idea of how you can build this painting, this type of a painting, okay? So again, I would go back into my colors, come back where I was before, okay? Same colors, put in a little bit more, and keep building and building and building. And that's how you could do a nice painting like this. All right, and what I like though is when you see some of that white, you can just take your smaller brush and you can go back in with it, all right? And same thing, in the sky, you would go over the sky again, okay? You would go around all these sections here that you see this white, and you can start to fill this in with a smaller brush, all right? I don't have time to do that now, but I at least wanted to show you how to keep building and building, all right? I'm gonna go back just to my my flat angle brush again, which I'm rinsing off in my water and just drying it a little bit. And now this is dried again, so I want to put on just a final highlight before we go. And I'm just mixing a little bit of white with a little bit of yellow. I'm just getting a real pale color, and here we go. Okay, so you can see I'm just pulling those strokes down. And look how that dressed him up. So hopefully you can see how I went back and forth between the colors, all right? So this is more of the look that I would like for a painting like this, and that's what you would work on. You would come into his tail over and over and over until you get the coloring that you want, okay? You'll come into his body and back into the whole background and keep layering more colors on. Unfortunately, I'm out of time today. And I hope you enjoy seeing this rooster, and check out my other shows. Thanks for tuning in.